Sa ngalan ni Jiggy Maligad, ako si John Veneracion at ito ang News TV Quick Response Team. At nagpapatuloy po ang impeachment trial kay Chief Justice Renato Corona. Nasa witness stand pa rin si dating Manila Mayor Lito Atienza. Panoorin po natin ito.
Ako po, katangi-tangi siguro na nasa Malacanang at the last moments of the ERAP administration in defense of the Constitution, because I believe that what was happening was illegal. Kaya masama po ang loob ko sa administrasyon noon. Hindi ko po sila tinatanggap. And it was a public knowledge that President Arroyo was worried about the city of Manila because the mayor was not in support of her administration. And many times they even tried getting me into their fold, and I refused because I thought it was an illegal government. Until and when the Supreme Court rendered a decision, doon ko lamang po tinanggap sila. Kaya kung meron pong special treatment or any special attention na bibigay ko doon sa kumakatawan, sa kinaiinisan kong administrasyon, ay hindi po nangyari yun. In fact, negative po ang dating sa akin.
Ba't hindi mo pinadelay ito pag galit ka na?
Hindi po. Iba po naman yung transaction. Yung transaksyon opisyal, opisyal. Yung personal, nanatili po ako sa piling ni Pangulong Erap.
Ngunit, sa panahon na yon, ano pang posisyon ni Justice Corona? Wasn't he Chief of Staff of...
At that time, no, he was not Chief of Staff. As far as my knowledge is concerned...
He was Chief of Staff of
at the time?
Malacanang.
When I first got to know them, they were Attorney and Mrs. Corona. And at that point in time, I definitely was not following up on his role.
But the negotiations for this started in January?
No, it started in 1999.
I see. So yes, he was then outside of government and became Chief of Staff when Gloria Arroyo became President. Well, he was the Chief of Staff of Gloria Arroyo as Vice President. Well, in any case, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. It's good to see you in good health.
For a good friend like the Senator, I'm always happy.
The gentleman from Makati and Bicol.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to be educated for my edification. Supposing we grant, as the line of questioning of the prosecution indicated, that there was irregularity in the sale between the Basas and the City of Manila, that the procedures were not followed. In short, there was an irregularity. Now, can you please edify me in what part of the articles of impeachment will that be relevant? Can anyone answer that? Public prosecutors.
The prosecution, can you answer the question of the gentleman from Makati and Bicol?
Your Honor, may we ask
yes.
may we ask Senator Roy to repeat the question, please?
Oh, I've forgotten the question. Let me put it this way, no? To put it simply, let us assume that the transaction between the City of Manila, headed by Mayor Atienza, and the Basas or the Basa Corporation or whatever, had been attended with irregularities. That there was something wrong, and we can attribute some fault or whatever. Now, can you educate me at least so that I'll be enlightened when I make a decision on this, on the impeachment? Where do you connect it with Article 2, Article 3, Article 7. Where? How do you connect that?
Your Honor, this would be in relation on the part of the prosecution on Article 2, Sal-N.
Namely, can you please?
Namely, now the defense is introducing this as evidence. The 34.7 million check paid for Cristina Corona in Trust for Basagidote Enterprises, Inc. And the theory of the prosecution is that it was misappropriated by Cristina Corona, deposited in her personal account. And therefore, and if we follow the line of reasoning by the defense, it ended up in the account of the Chief Justice. Therefore, it should have been included and declared in the Sal-N. So it would fall under Article 2.
All right, fine. If that is your theory, because I don't think the defense admits, or rather contests the proposition that 35, how much was that, 35?
34.7
All right,
million.
34.7 million, which was money in trust held by Mrs. Corona, was deposited in the account of Chief Justice Corona. Those are more or less established facts. All right.
Yes.
Now, what I want to be clarified is this. Assuming that, how do you connect that? What is the connection with the accusation in Article 2? You are not charging the ill-gotten wealth. You are not charging what's this other elements. Now, we're talking here in Article 2 of Sal-N. In other words, we are talking whether Corona, the Chief Justice, made an honest revelation of his assets and liabilities. So, with the interpellation of Mayor Atienza, what do we gather? Assuming all of that, how does that strengthen the position of the prosecution?
We were just testing the credibility, the credence of the testimony. But going back to that point...
No, wait, let's stop there, Neil. Okay. In other words, it has nothing to do with the substance of Article 2. It is testing the credibility of the witness.
No, Your Honor. It has something to do with the substance of Article 2. Because, namely because the position of the prosecution is that all assets should be declared.
Yes. Okay, agreed.
And the 34 million, yes. 34.7 million was deposited, misappropriated, and deposited in the personal account of Maria Cristina Corona.
Misappropriated by whom?
By Mrs. Corona.
All right, Mrs. Corona misappropriated. But does it appear in the Sal-N?
That's the reason why. That's the reason we're disputing it, Your Honor, because the theory of the prosecution is that all of this should have been declared in the Sal-N. And it has never been declared.
The way I see it, if it was entered in the Sal-N, then irregular, stolen, or whatever, that is not an issue. What is at issue is whether he entered the amount in the Sal-N. That's the question. I mean, I'm not questioning anything. I want to be educated because we are about to arrive at a moment of truth. We will recess and we can think about it. I want to simplify the issues, at least as far as I'm concerned.
With respect to that, probably we can submit a memorandum.
No. It's very difficult to submit a memorandum because all I want to know is that we spent 3 hours here on the conducting the direct and cross-examination of Mayor Atienza now about the irregularities. But what is undisputed is that 34.7 million was paid by the City of Manila. The 34.7 was paid to Mrs. Corona as supposedly attorney in fact or whatever. Then that money was deposited in the account of Chief Justice Corona. Justice Cuevas, do you confirm that is how it happened?
This money, Your Honor, does not belong to even Mrs. Corona herself because as the check will show, this is for Basa Guidote, Your Honor, and received by Mrs. Corona only in trust, Your Honor. So if it is received by her in trust, there is nothing that she can transfer to her husband, Your Honor.
No, I'm not talking about transfer to the husband.
Yes.
But I am only asking, was it deposited in the account of Chief Justice Corona? That's nice.
There is no evidence to that effect, Mr. Your Honor, please.
All right, if there's no evidence to that effect, they deny it, that it was deposited. So, again, I go back to the relevance of that money. The money, City of Manila paid Mrs. Corona. Where that went, that is what I am asking the prosecution. What is your theory? Meaning, the disposition now of the 34.7 million, what's the theory of the prosecution?
I think, Your Honor, that should be the duty, the job, the burden should be on the defense to prove that. But as far as we are concerned now,
yes.
As far as we are concerned, based on the testimony so far of the witnesses presented, the money was deposited in the personal account of Mrs. Corona in Malacanang, that's Land Bank. And to us, she treated it as her own money. Therefore, it has relation with the SALN because it's an asset.
Mrs. Corona deposited that 34.7 million in her own account.
Yes.
All right. But Ms. Corona is not being charged here. It's Chief Justice Corona. Well, here is Mrs. Corona, who receives 34.7 million, which perhaps it's not hers, perhaps it's hers, perhaps it's whatever, then deposited in her account. Now, what's the position now of the prosecution?
The position of the prosecution is that it should have been...
I mean that particular money, 34.7 million.
Now, so far, what we see is that it was deposited in a personal account. That's what we see so far. And to us, it has relevance, materiality on Article 2 of the impeachment complaint, which is SALN. Because even if the Chief Justice...
I get it. It's the SALN of Chief Justice Corona that is at issue. I even thought, I was going along with the idea that it was deposited in the account of it was deposited in the account of Chief Justice Corona. That is why it was listed in the SALN. But it turns out that we are not clear on just what we are discussing about on that 34.7.
The position, Your Honor, is that even the personal property of the wife should be included in the SALN. Mm-hmm. And that is the position of the prosecution.
I see.
But as of now, the defense, probably most of the questions should be addressed to the defense.
No, I won't dispute
because they are the ones presenting their defense and not us.
I'm not. Believe me, I am not, and I will not contest the position at this point of the prosecution. I respect whatever position you have, but I just want it clear. Otherwise, we will be going round and round. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you also to Senator Joker Arroyo. Your Honor.
Mr. President.
Just the floor, Leader.
Mr. President, may we ask that the witness, the Honorable former Mayor Atienza, be discharged?
Temporarily.
Temporarily.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well,
until the next hearing, Your
the
Honor.
distinguished former Mayor of Manila is discharged momentarily, and we shall the court will notify him when we resume the trial of this
May 7, Your Honor.
Maraming salamat po.
case in the afternoon of May 7,
Thank you.
2012.
Maraming salamat po.
Another witness?
Mr. President, Senator Lacson wishes to be recognized.
The gentleman from Cavite?
Question to the witness ba?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I have some questions, a few questions to the prosecution. If it is your assertion that Mrs. Corona misappropriated, you used the term misappropriated, the amount of 34.7 million. Now, are you admitting that she should not have included, or CJ Corona, the Chief Justice, should not have included that amount in his salary because they didn't own that amount, that money? I'm asking a question.
Well, to us, it should be included in the salary.
But you said they didn't own that money.
No, we did not say that.
Misappropriated. When you say you misappropriate some amount, you don't own it.
What we said, Your Honor, was that she treated it as her own, and therefore should have been included
But
in the salary.
they didn't own that amount, that money.
They have to prove that, Your Honor, because that is
Anyway,
the burden is
I'm
on the
just curious
defense with
because
respect to that.
you know, that's your statement struck me.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I was about to reply
Yes, you may reply.
to the
Yes, sir.
statement that the burden of proof is in our. They are in all criminal prosecution or even in civil cases, Your Honor, the burden of proof is always on the party who alleges. They were the ones alleging, Your Honor, that this is property of BG Basa Gidote, Your Honor, and it was received by Mrs. Corona only in trust. Not even Mrs. Corona can be held liable for not including her if she has a separate statement of assets and liabilities.
That is correct, sir. And since, as stipulated in the corporate certificate, corporate secretary certificate, she was only entitled to 5% commission. So is it also your contention that Mrs. Corona or the Chief Justice should only include the amount equivalent to 5% of 34.7 million?
If she received the amount and she was paid, Your Honor, and in fact there is no evidence to that effect, I think if she received, she may be liable.
Anyway,
But not Chief Justice Corona. She has nothing to do with the transaction, Your Honor. She is neither the buyer, much less the seller, nor is she an agent or the broker. In other words, we have here a case of general accusation. All right, perang pumunta sa inyo yan, i-account ninyo. We do not agree with that kind of proposition because anybody else can be held. I'm not referring it to the...
All of this discussion will be cleared up when the defense shall have finished its presentation of evidence. I do not know whether they'll present Mrs. Corona, what other witnesses they'll have to present. But if they'll present Mrs. Corona, she'll be the best person to explain all of this.
Yes, Your Honor. We fully agree.
So,
Mr. President,
yes,
Senator Ralph Recto wishes to be recognized.
the gentleman from Batangas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I am glad that on this last day for March, as far as the impeachment trial is concerned, we are now going to the other important matter in the SAL-N. We are now on the personal and other properties, which has a relation to cash in bank, and liabilities.
This is the heart of the problem.
Precisely the point, Mr. President. Mr. President, the whole day today, or at least after during the testimony of Mayor Atienza, it has been pointed out by the defense as their witness that Mrs. Corona, in trust for Basa Gidote, received 34.7 million in cash. Isn't that correct? That's basically what the defense is saying.
That's the amount of the check, Your Honor, which was paid to her in her capacity.
Correct.
As representative.
And based on the documents, this has been deposited in Land Bank I think if I'm not mistaken, land bank in Manila.
That's not clear, Your Honor. There was an allegation to that effect, but that is no evidence, Your Honor.
But isn't it correct as well that in previous testimonies, as of December 31, 2010, the cash in bank should have been in account number 089-121-021-681 7,148,238.83. Account number 089-121-019-593 12,580,316.56. That is in the PS Bank, the 2 peso accounts. And then you have a BPI account with 12,024,067 pesos and 70 cents. If I look at the SALN of the Chief Justice as of December 31, 2010, cash and investment value is here 3.5 million. Okay? There was also testimony and evidence that on December 12, 2010, a withdrawal was made of roughly 34 million. Or 2011. Isn't that correct? Yes.
That appears to be the evidence of the prosecution, Your Honor.
Correct.
If you are asking our side, Your Honor,
yes,
just kindly wait. We are not yet through with our opportunity.
No, I understand. This is in relation to this 34 million Basagidoti.
Yes, our point is...
That's all I'm trying to point out.
I'm sorry, sir.
Yes. Okay. Now, there was a withdrawal in December 12, 2011. May I ask the prosecutor, isn't that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And if I recall the testimony then, that this withdrawal was tinanggal yung pera dahil wala nang tiwala sa PS Bank, and this money is the money of Basagidoti.
That is not the evidence for the prosecution.
Okay.
That was I think in the media, in the newspaper.
Okay. Is that the evidence of the defense?
Are you...
That withdrawal, that 34 million withdrawal.
Yes.
Is
what?
that, I may not have my notes now, no, but there was a withdrawal as testified here by the PS Bank manager, if I'm not mistaken. 34 million ang withdraw noong December 12, 2011. And that is why hindi kailangan makasama naman yon dun sa SALN ni Chief Justice noong 2010.
Hindi po yun ang aming bersyon, ang aming depensa. Ang aming depensa is this money which allegedly were deposited, whether in the dollar account or peso account, are merely held in trust by Chief Justice Corona, Your Honor.
Correct.
Coming from the proceeds of the Basagidoti account and also the money sent to them by their children, Your Honor.
Okay. Pero basta maliwanag, itong 34, sa Basagidoti ito. And I'm following up the point of Senator Ping Lacson here.
If that question is directed to me,
yeah, it could be directed to both, yes, to the Defense Counsel.
Well, we have not yet started presenting evidence in that regard. So how can there be an evaluation, an appraisal, and conclusion? I hope you clear it. Yeah. I hope as a judge in this case, Your Honor, I would plead most respectfully that kindly receive the evidence with an open mind. Because if your mind are already closed, these are deposit, these are the money of Justice Corona, and they were not registered. Therefore, he has violated the provisions of SALN, Your Honor.
No,
in fact, even the allegations of paragraph 2, Article 2, Your Honor, under paragraph 2 and 2.3, there is nothing mentioned about the failure to state this and so on, or the irregularity.
Yes.
What
I
appears
just
is non-declaration.
want to assure the defense that I am not making a conclusion. I'm just trying to understand the evidence presented here, whether testimony or documentary. And what...
At yan po ang impeachment trial kay Chief Justice Renato Corona ngayong araw na ito at sinalang ng defense panel si dating Manila Mayor Lito Atienza para tumistigo sa ari-arian ng Basa Guidote account o Basa Guidote Corporation, ang korporasyon na pagmamay-ari ng asawa ni Chief Justice Renato Corona.